trying to bring more people into crypto, help them understand the value of trustless, permissionless systems, right? Help them understand the value of their data privacy and their identity privacy, and insofar as you can have it in crypto.
And the rumor is, so you did a cappella in college. The rumor is that you were in a band with Phil. Is that true?
I feel like this is like a Nardwuar interview. You're going to find like some guy I used to get deli sandwiches from soon to tell you all about my life.
You're tuned to the ArCast, where we talk about the blockchain on the ArCast and how your data remains. It's the ArCast, where ArDrive is the topic, censorship-resistant permanence. Yeah, we got it. Hello, friends. You are listening to episode 3 of the ArCast, available on the Permacast Network and anywhere you stream your favorite podcast. This week, we got a very special guest, Ariel Melendez, who is the CTO at ArDrive. So you're going to learn a lot about the technical elements of how the app works and how it integrates with the RFS system, and it's tight. I wanted to shout out ArConnect. I use it in my Chrome browser. Shout out to the Arweaver community. Shout out to Arweave News. A lot of exciting things are going on with ArDrive right now. We're running an NFT shirt contest. So for more information, go to ardrive.io/NFT shirt. And I don't know, if I wanted to know a secret code word to win a free NFT shirt, I might listen at around 24 minutes and 20 seconds and tweet hashtag NFT shirts with the code word to @ArDrive apps. I don't know though. I mean, let's just say hypothetically speaking, I don't know. The PermaWeb Hackathon is still going on. Shout out to Arweave and Akash for helping us with that. If you want to know what's going on, check out our newsletter. We just sent out the new one. You can go to ardrive.io, click on About, and click on Newsletter, and you will get all of those updates right into your email. We're doing another data bounty. So if you want some of that AR, go ahead and upload a public drive. The theme is winter. Share it with us on Twitter at ArDrive app with the hashtag ArDrive Bounty with your public link to your drive with your winter themed flavor, and you could win 2 AR. I'm just saying, that's what's up. Check out the CLI. Drumroll, we have 2 new features, Path Manifest and Cold Wallet support. So let's jump into it. This is my interview with the legendary Ariel Melendez on the ArCast. My friends, welcome to the ArCast. My name is Andrew. I'm here with Ariel Melendez, the CTO at ArDrive. He's a father, a Princeton graduate, a recent Portland transplant, and he is a busy dude, and I was grateful to get some time with him. So first of all, Ariel, how are you doing? Are you getting any sleep these days, being a new dad?
That question is rude, but totally relevant. Yeah, the answer is not as much as I'd like. They say the body adapts to this kind of crazy phase of parenthood, and I feel like I'm getting there, but yeah, thanks for asking. I'm doing okay. Despite that.
It's been a momentous year because you moved to the West Coast, right? And you are a father and all this growth at ArDrive.
It's been such a wild year, not only because of those things, but just factor in the pandemic and everything else. And when people ask like how we've been faring, my partner, my wife and I ask how we've been faring during these times. And we kind of go over this short list of things that we've tried to accomplish this year. It kind of surprises us too, how much we packed in. But, for the two of us, we found that we work really effectively as a team, and we just kind of like load up things that we think are high priority to us and just eliminate the time that it takes to like analyze things too much and just let our guts guide us so we can move a bit faster. And that's just been a really helpful kind of thing to observe about ourselves and lean into this past year. And I think it's proved to be really beneficial for us. So so we're hanging in there. I'm really excited about everything we're doing at ArDrive. We're moving at that breakneck pace, but I'd say I'm feeling all right and keeping up.
So you've done a lot of stuff in web, mobile, and cloud-based work. Tell me a little bit about the journey and the different positions that led you here.
Yeah, no, it's a great question. My undergraduate work was in operations research and financial engineering. All to say, it was a lot of like optimization science and understanding how to structure securities and derivatives and things like that. A really big feeder to the finance and consulting world, which, though I dabbled in during those times, I knew really wasn't for me. But I always really enjoyed anything having to do with programming and software design. and scripting and hacking in college. And so that was something that one of my professors noticed about me. And, he had a transportation logistics company called ALK Technologies in the Princeton area that had jobs available when I got out of school, and I thought it was really interesting. I always loved really working with him. So I jumped on board there and had a business development role there actually for the first 6 months that I was there, which, that I was working with a great team, and it was such a cool, exciting business at the time. It wasn't really keeping my interest as much as I would have liked. And they happened to be in a hiring blitz at the time for software engineers. They were really growing out their embedded software business, doing GPS navigation software for trucks and for consumers. And there was sort of a window of opportunity where I was able to kind of slide in and start to contribute on the technical side. And, they had just a really fantastic nurturing environment there. The engineers all really helped one another grow and learn, and people were tremendously patient with me, coming into that world without a software engineering degree, or a computer science degree, I should say. And so, that is really the place where I cut my teeth for about 7 years. So while I was there, some exciting things happened in the tech world. iPhones and Android phones came onto the market. At the time at that company, I was working on, mobile software for Windows mobile phones and Nokia phones, Symbian OS and some stuff for BlackBerry. And then, when iPhone and Android came and we were able to kind of port our software there, it kind of changed the game for us. So learned a lot about writing cross-platform software, working on teams, learning how to write really good, really portable code, and had a really outstanding time working there. Made some of my best friends there. And then after that, I ended up working with some folks from that company. Joined a music technology startup that was doing things with digital signal processing and with machine learning. So that was really a big departure from transportation logistics and GPS navigation software. But they were going to be building some mobile apps there, and my mobile experience, was going to get put to work there. So I got to take part in sort of growing a team. I think I was maybe the 7th hire there. We doubled, and then eventually, I think at one point maybe even tripled in size. And so got to experience that growth and the excitement of budding products, and learned a lot about how to keep focus in a small organization. How to make sure that you maintain agile and can pivot, but also stay focused on your core mission, right? I mean, that's something that's super important that I bring. That's a lens that I bring to our work at ArDrive all the time. This is such a fast moving space in crypto right now. And, staying focused on your core goals, but also knowing when the right time to change tack is super critical. So I found that experience is pretty instrumental for me, and something I rely on all the time at ArDrive. And then, did a spate of consulting work after that, and then ultimately fell into about a 5-year role at a company called Schoology, which ended up getting absorbed by a larger kind of integrator in the space called Power School Education Tech, right? So again, another big departure from the work I was doing previously. No machine learning there, no digital signal processing. It's an ed tech platform. But I was running a mobile team there and did that for a number of years, and sort of grew into more of a full stack role, doing some principal engineering there, and had a lot of team leadership there for a number of years, which I think has been super helpful for the day-to-day of team leadership at ArDrive. And, so like you said, eclectic career, a bunch of different technology stacks and target markets. But, I think that diversity really helps me sort of stay agile, and adapt to the changing landscape that's underfoot day in and day out.
What made you shift into the blockchain specifically? Was it being on the forefront of different things, or was it something you were an early adopter on,
Love that question. And I think it's a funny story. I'm really late to the crypto party. And the way that I got into it was kind of around investments, right? Like finance and investments. I had a little pot of money that I wanted to kind of invest intelligently. And, my wife and I got a financial advisor, and some of the advice we had gotten from our financial advisor was pretty conventional, and wasn't really that exciting to me. A couple of my closest friends had been investing in the crypto space, and some, including Phil, the founder at ArDrive, had been mining in the space for a while in different cryptocurrencies. And so, I was aware that they had a side chat among our friends where they were talking about that stuff day in and day out. And I just said one day, "Hey guys, I'm really ready to take the red pill and understand everything that you guys are getting into in the crypto space." So I came at it with the desire to learn about it from an investment standpoint. And then once I started digging in the technology side of everything, I just went totally down the rabbit hole, as they say. I mean, you hear it all the time from people who get into the crypto space. They fell down the rabbit hole. I just started consuming information voraciously. I couldn't stop. There's just some really great YouTube channels and blogs and things like that I just couldn't get enough of. And before I knew it, it was like replacing all of the other kind of media and content I was listening to and absorbing. And so then what ended up happening was I decided at some point to start running some validator nodes for the Ethereum blockchain for what I guess they call the ETH2 network that's being spun up. And in doing that, I did it as a project with Phil and some other friends. And Phil was really taken with my technical ability there, and also with my ability to think deeply about blockchain concepts like trust and security and permissionless operations and things like that. And so, he realized that I was growing into the kind of leader that he was going to need at ArDrive. And so it was a sort of a long courting process over many months to bring me over to the dark side, as we'll call it. But having some of that hands-on experience with blockchain technologies and having some time to sort of ramp up into the space to make up for these lost years where a lot of other folks have really leaned in and been thinking about this stuff deeply for a while. It was useful for me. It was a good runway.
Well, and it sounds like your background and having had all these different paths kind of made you able to be the perfect person for this, right? Because you're a fast learner. You've tried so many different things, and so much of team management and organizing things is learning how to communicate to the marketing team, to the designers, to the coders, right? Like, in a way, learning quickly, would you say that's one of your strengths, looking at your career?
I think so, yeah. I mean, I'm always trying to build bridges to basic concepts that you can build upon and then convey to others, right? So I really do take seriously the challenge of trying to explain blockchain concepts to friends and family, like when they want to know what's going on in the space. I pride myself in being able to try to break it down into simple terms to help people understand the incentives and try as best as I can to parallel to systems people already understand. But those things don't always exist in the crypto space. So finding some simple language to convey some sort of tricky concepts is really critical, right? And I mean, what we're trying to do is bring more people into this space, right? We're trying to bring more people into crypto, help them understand the value of trustless, permissionless systems, right? Help them understand the value of their data privacy and their identity privacy, and insofar as you can have it in crypto. In order to really show them the value, sometimes you got to be able to break it down in simple terms. But yeah, I think to your point, it's been one of my strengths for a long time. I pride myself in my adaptability, and have the constant imposter syndrome that everyone else does, that I don't have the depth everywhere I'd like to have it. But when I take a step back and look at the breadth, I'm kind of happy with it, and I think it just allowed me to get into some exciting projects like what we're doing at ArDrive.
And the rumor is, so you did a cappella in college. The rumor is that you were in a band with Phil. Is that true?
I feel like this is like a Nardwuar interview. You're going to find like some guy I used to get deli sandwiches from soon to tell you all about my life. I was in a band with Phil in high school. Yeah,
oh, wow.
Right. So Phil and I have actually known each other since middle school. We went to the same grade school since like kindergarten, but got to become friends since middle school. So we were working on music projects together. We were young all the time, but we also worked on like some silly web projects and video games and things like that when we were kids. And, when I looked at the opportunity at ArDrive and I thought back to the ways that Phil and I collaborated over the years and just been an effective team whenever we applied our minds to something, I knew that given his background and his experience in this space and and the sort of complementary set of skills that I have in combination with our already great working relationship, this is going to be a natural fit. So, but yeah, the music history is there. It is there.
Ariel, how would you explain the difference between the Blockweave and the blockchain to someone who knows nothing about the difference?
A traditional blockchain, this is the explanation I'm going to go with right now. A traditional blockchain is really just a ledger of transactions, right? And on the Arweave blockchain, Arweave is also just a ledger of transactions, right? Like if I have AR and I want to send it to you, that's going to be a transaction that goes into a block, and that's going to get into the blockchain, and that transaction kind of lives forever in the blockchain for as long as the miners are willing to sort of participate in building and maintaining this blockchain, right? The additional really cool thing that goes on Arweave is that another kind of transaction you can do is a data transaction. So not only do I want you to take my money, I want you to take this file. Or not only do I want you to move my money, I want you to store this file, right? And so miners have these really interesting incentives on Arweave to receive these files for essentially what we'll call a gas cost. For money, right? Hey, here's some money. Please store this file for me indefinitely. And that file, if it just stayed on one miner's machine, it'd be kind of brittle, right? I mean, it could disappear. A miner could have an outage. They could lose a hard disk. They could lose their data center in a flood. I don't know. Name your disaster of choice. It could be censored, right? Like a regulator or a state entity could come and grab disks and destroy them. Similar to the way that a lot of other peer-to-peer networks work, there are ways in which miners and node operators can sort of distribute file data out to one another to create like this sort of durable network, so that if I go and destroy some corner of it somewhere, whether by shutting off internet access or physically damaging machinery or something like that, there are other copies of the data in other places. And Arweave is really cool because it actually incentivizes miners to hold on to as much data as they can and to be able to retrieve it as quickly as possible forever. Because if the miners don't do that, they can't produce blocks. And if they can't produce blocks, they can't take fees from people for doing things like sharing their money or storing their data. And so if they can't do that, then there's no reason for them to run a miner. So it's a really cool set of incentives there to make the miners sort of share data with one another, store it forever, and it that creates the blockweave, so to speak, that we rely upon today to drive ArDrive operations.
So if I'm understanding it correctly, the main difference is they're incentivized to store everything, right? Because that's how you're able to keep things indefinitely with Arweave.
Yeah. So the way I'd say it is, So there's a name for the protocol Arweave uses called SPoRA, and it's like proof of random access. And what you need to be able to do is, if you're a miner, right, you're participating in this dance essentially, where you've got all this high-powered computation that you're doing to sort of demonstrate that you are the one who should be awarded the privilege of creating the next block, and thus being given all of the reward fees associated with that. You get reward fees for helping people facilitate their transfers or for taking their data, right? So if you're a miner, you want to be awarded this privilege. So, a Bitcoin, it's kind of based on your hash power. It's very similar on Arweave, but the other thing that you need to be able to do on Arweave is essentially the protocol is going to go and say, yeah, and the other thing that I need you to do is demonstrate that you can go pull this random file from the entire history of the blockchain. So go find that thing, and if you can do that and cryptographically show me that you've really truly got it and that got access to it, and that you can do this sort of other computational dance you've been asked, then you truly pass the test. And if you can't pass the test, then you can't write the block. And if you can't write the block, you can't make money. So if you can't go find random blocks from the middle of whenever, or sorry, not random blocks, but random files from the middle of whatever time in history of this blockweave, you can't make blocks. So that incentivizes the miners to, have some way, by hook or by crook, to get that make that data retrievable. So whatever they do behind the scenes is kind of up to them. But that's the abstract way to think about it.
That differentiates it being a weave versus a chain.
Well, the weave part of it too is that miners are sort of incentivized to share this information with another, right?
Okay.
So what you don't want to do is have it all centralized in one place that it's, let's say, sharded. So it's like, I don't know, you take files A through C and I'll take files D through E, and or D through F will all share, like that could be a little bit brittle. So there's other, obscure mechanisms we can get into, I guess, that help protect against those kinds of things. But the idea is that they are sharing data, on ingest and on retrieval and while mining. So, it's a weave of data that's all powering, the incentivization part of the protocol.
I think something our listeners would be interested in hearing about is specifically ArDrive. Let's talk about the solution it offers, because people can store things more efficiently and they don't have to be coders or engineers necessarily to do it, right? And that was kind of the idea behind it, make it like a user-facing interface for storing on the Weave. Is that how you describe it?
Well, it's that and more, right? I mean, the critical innovation at ArDrive is what we call RFS, ARFS, the Arweave file system, right? So Arweave itself is a blockchain. If you wanted to sit and look at a block viewer application on the web, you can go to like viewblock.io/Arweave, and you can inspect each one of the blocks that go by. And you can look at each one of the transactions in the block, and you can tell whether they're just person-to-person payments or whether they're actual data uploads. And if they're data uploads and they're public and they aren't encrypted in any way, you can go look at the data. So that's one way to kind of observe the data on the Weave, but it's sort of monolithic, and it's just a really big flat list, right? And that's not the way people want to consume things. They want to look at their own data, and they want to look at things hierarchically. Like they're used to thinking about their files, like in the way a file system presents them, right? They're used to moving things around and renaming them. And so that's what RFS does, right? RFS creates this sort of protocol layer on top of Arweave, and knows how to structure transactions and structure data such that you can think of it in a hierarchical fashion and such that you can make modifications to otherwise permanent data, right? So the data itself will be the same, but the way that you describe and organize the data can change. And as long as you're just using the most recent revision of those concepts, you have the ability to change things on an otherwise immutable blockchain. So that's the innovation of RFS. ArDrive is the sort of suite of apps and libraries that we supply for users to then interface with RFS, right? To like look at that file system, right? And to do the natural things that they want to do, like drag and drop things into places and move stuff around and rename it, right? Like do it all from a UI, or if they're savvy from a terminal app, right? We have a really powerful CLI that we're really investing a lot of time and effort into right now to enable automators and developers to hop into the space and build off of our own tooling. So that's how I describe those two key layers, right? I mean, it's RFS. And then it's ArDrive built on top of RFS.
All right, last question. Has becoming a parent shifted your view of the importance of all of this?
I would say yes. I think that I do see like really large systems as really, really hard to manage. The human elements of them are essentially corruptible. It's a wild world right now. And, I think every parent and every generation worries about the world they're bringing their kid into. But so I would say that I'm no exception to that. And I am, I'm optimistic about the good that these technologies can bring to the world, the empowerment they can bring. I'm not looking at it all with rose-colored glasses and saying that every corner of what's happening in the crypto space is perfect or good. But I think by and large, the people that I've met that are working in the space are working with really great intentions and looking to empower people. So we want to keep doing that at ArDrive day in and day out, and hope people will come check us out and see what this is all about.
I hope so too, and I know they will after this great interview. So thank you for answering all my questions so succinctly and wonderfully, and it's been great getting to talk to you. And so thank you for your time.
Thanks so much, Andrew. Such a pleasure. Great to talk to you.
You too, man. A great interview. I learned all about proof of RAM and things I didn't know. So I'm glad we got to talk with Ariel. If I needed a clue on how not to feel after that interview, that word could be lugubrious. Speaking of NFTs, next week we've got Crypto Stellas. Be sure to check that out and stay tuned to our social media for more updates. Thanks for listening. Peace.